This is the 17th season of Bass Talk Live with your hosts, Mark Jeffries and Matt Pangrat. BTL is brought to you by Lawrence, Bass Cat Boats, APCO, Ducket Fishing, Strike King Lures, Sunline, Big Bite Baits, Spro, Exo Lures, Yamagatsu, The Bass Tank, and Denali Rods. BTL coming at you. Good Tuesday, everybody. Welcome once again to another edition of BTL Bass Talk Live, where Matt and I are going to talk bass fishing and anything else that we want to talk about. Matthew, yesterday was a very, very stressful, high energy, busy. I'm trying to think of other adjectives.
Did you get in a fight at the bowling alley?
No, frustrating. Did I say frustrating? Yeah, yesterday was rather frustrating. And we didn't even have a show yesterday.
Well, because we went 2.5 hours on Sunday night on the post-game show that then turned into another hour of a BTL show that we just put out. So it was a precursor to the 24-hour show that we have coming up in August.
Yes.
Do we have a date for that yet?
9th and 10th. That's what we booked.
August 9th and 10th.
Yeah, Monday,
24
Tuesday.
hours live.
Start at 9 a.m., finish at 9 a.m.
And based on Jeffrey's day yesterday, the segments of that 24-hour show will be available for download with no glitches or hiccups.
So they say.
Dude, Jeffrey's, folks.
So they say.
I've been with Mark Jeffrey since, 2007?
Longer than that.
No, it's 2007.
What is that, 14 years?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I've seen him go into I am customer mode several times with things that did not go as expected, that he purchased, ordered, was working with. But I hadn't seen it for a couple of years. Yesterday I went into I am customer mode. And really, it was totally called for because I was told last week that the situation had been corrected. That the situation was not going to occur anymore. Well, it's a situation where there's this guy whistling when you download the iTunes. It's like, it's like the podcast viewer has run out of bandwidth, basically saying that you basically hadn't paid your bills and no one could download the podcast, which is impossible because you have unlimited bandwidth. That's right. That's right. We pay quite the dollar to make sure that we have unlimited downloads, unlimited bandwidth. And that was not the case. And this was the second time that this has occurred within the last 30 days. Jeffries was not happy the first time. Actually, I saw the email he sent the first time, and folks, it was in all caps. Does that send a message when it's in all caps? Well, see, my dad types everything in all caps, so I'm used to it. But yeah. All right, so the first thing I want to do, well, let's back up a minute. We have a great show today. We're going to have Stephen Browning on, having a fantastic year. Top 10, hearing over about $70,000 in earning, well on his way to Red Crest. Yeah. And whatever else, all the side pots that they qualify for throughout the year. We're going to talk to him here in about 10, 15 minutes. And then tomorrow, we're going to have Justin Lucas on. So a jam-packed week, once again, here on BTL. All right, folks, yesterday, for those people that are listening on iTunes that tried to download the show on iTunes yesterday, as Matt mentioned earlier, you got this crazy message with the dude whistling. Sounds like kind of like Andy Griffith's show background. That's a good description. Well, anyway, you weren't able to download the show, and it basically made us look like we were a bunch of lowlifes that didn't pay our bills. All right? You, not me. Me. Good point. That was not the case. And the company that we use is called Podomatic. And in simple terms, basically, you have to have a company that distributes and hosts and basically manages the distribution of your podcast to get it to all the podcasters, in simple terms. Podcast listeners. Yes. All the different platforms. All right. And we've been with this company forever, for a long, long time.
So when they decided to make changes to their website and their platform, guess what?
Jeffrey's just going to read the letter.
Guess what?
They
had some issues.
He's got the letter in his hand.
So I finally got...
I walk in this morning, he's waving the letter. I got the letter.
I did. I got the letter. All right. And if anybody doesn't believe I didn't get the letter when I read this, you just send me an email and I'll send the email back to you that I received from the company.
Stephen Browning's in the queue watching this code. What did I get into?
Hey, when you pay for something and your credibility is on the line,
I'm with you.
You need an apology.
What did I say? I said, I'm getting the messages, Jeffries. I said, you need to go into I am customer mode.
I did.
You live for these moments.
I did. You know why? It's because of my experience being on the other side when I worked at UPS.
You took it for 25 years, and now it's your turn to return the favor.
So anyway, I reached out to a member of management, which is very difficult to do with some of these companies. And I reached out to a gentleman by the name of Christopher, and Christopher was very nice, was very apologetic, and what did I tell you? I put together a
list of demands.
That's right.
You wanted him to come on the show and explain how wrong they were.
All right, but instead I got a letter.
Go ahead, read it.
All right, so I'm going to read.
Are you allowed, legally, are you allowed to read it?
Yeah, I told him I was going to read it. All right, so it says,
the floor is yours.
Dear fans and sponsors of the BTL podcast, due to a recent construction of our website, a number of our features ran into temporary issues last week and over the weekend. These bugs briefly affected many of our podcasters. The issues that Mark of BTL experienced with the delayed reporting of episode stats and his good standing with his account was downgraded, making his massively successful episodes impossible for several hours.
Did you
inaccessible?
Did you make Did you?
I didn't put that in.
You
there.
didn't request that
no,
exact verbiage?
That was not part of the demands. Okay. These issues were solely the fault of Podomatic system updates, and in no way reflects Mark's abilities or professionalism as a podcaster. That's pretty fair to say.
Mm-hmm.
All right. The BTL podcast is one of our most successful podcasts we have on our entire network and has been for years due to the quality and consistency BTL provides their audience. We have solved the issues for the BTL podcast and Mark has a direct line now to Podomatic management should any other issues arise in the future.
Oh, I hope this is a one-pager. There's not 2 pages to it, is there? Okay.
No. While we strive every day to offer the most reliable tools in the industry, technology remains intrinsically fickle.
Intrinsically.
Yeah, whatever. And dependent on a huge number of moving parts. We wouldn't possibly promise that computer systems and the internet are going to work flawlessly from now on, but we can promise that BTL is crucial to our network, and we will always have the highest priority when it comes to repairing issues that may happen in the future. Please accept our deepest apologies for the inconvenience and the inability to access the BTL podcast due to the recent situation for the most important episodes. All right,
we
are working frantically to ensure that no further interruptions come to the BTL podcast. Thank you very much, Podomatic. There you have it.
That is why you should throw a half-ounce jackhammer in dirty water.
Are you not impressed with that? Dude, how many times have you heard or seen me as livid as I was yesterday?
I wish we had a live stream going of that phone call.
So, many thanks to Christopher and the management at Podomatic for helping us out. And dude, I learned that a long time ago. You take care of the customer, good things will happen.
There you go.
rest assured,
demands met. You got the apology letter, and now we can move on to bigger and better things, and we shouldn't have the Opie and Anthony, or Opie and, what is it? Not Opie and Anthony, the Andy Griffith Show whistling deal anymore.
Ronnie Howard.
Moving on to Smallmouth Talk Live.
What?
Well, that's what the show is now. No one's going to catch a largemouth for like the next 3 months in tournament fishing. So
they might. They could. Maybe.
We got
you going to target largemouth at all?
No.
I didn't think so.
No, not at any of the opens. There's a Toyota up at Champlain. They might catch a few largemouth there. Mm-hmm. There's the Elite Series going on at Waddington, and from the pictures, it looks like they've gotten twice as fat as the MLF guys when they were there a week ago, which is impossible. But apparently, if you talk to anybody up there, those fish grow like a pound a week.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so I got to mention one other thing. Matt and I, apologize to all those people that tried to download the audio version of the post-game show podcast. And hopefully that situation completely corrected, but we're sorry.
I guess my situation then is, so the BTL store is open. You click on the link on basson.com. We got all the new stuff up there. It's only open for the rest of this week, so this is your last week to get it.
Okay.
That being said, there were some international listeners. Australia, I'm not joking.
Yeah.
Australia, Korea.
South Korea.
Well, you don't know. Maybe we got Kim Jong-un up there.
South Korea.
BTL hat.
Yeah.
And Canada, Australia, and Korea. Yeah. So I have worked with ATS Printing, and Catherine, who's been awesome to work with up there for the last couple months, who's handling all of it and all that. So they have it worked out. So if you are from Canada and you want to order some BTL merchandise, you should be good to go. They got it worked out. So if you're from Canada, you should order it. Due to customs and delays and all that, any other country besides Canada is a no-go right now.
So
they can't do it.
No Australia, no
Australia. Now here's
South
my
Korea,
question: is
Japan.
it possible that we could get some of the stuff at cost? And I mean, dude, I'm guessing I'm not going to have to be shipping 90 boxes to Korea. So if there's a dude in Korea who wants a hat, I might be able to get one of the hats extra and then ship it to him just U.S. postal mail, right? Instead of
international mail. I don't know how that works. I've never sent a package.
I'm willing
overseas
to work with it, because if you're a dedicated listener in Korea and you want a BTL hat, you should be able to get a BTL hat. Same with Australia. Down under, we have a bunch of great listeners from Australia.
Yeah.
Is that our most outside of Canada? Is Australia our second most listened to country?
Probably. Yeah.
So anyway, that's it. But hey, go get your BTL stuff. All this stuff will be gone. The my favorite color is 7 shirt, and the day 4 with Frank shirt. This is your only one run that you'll have a chance to get. Special run. And also pick up a buff, because I got a lot of buffs.
You like the buffs, don't you?
There. They say BTL on them. It's a buff.
But do you wear a buff in competition?
It depends.
What does it depend on, Matthew?
How warm it is and how long I'm running. Like, I like a buff if I'm making a long run, and it's not because I can keep my sunglasses on.
Oh, I got you.
I'm going to start wearing some new sunglasses. I got the Pro Staff deal to get a couple pair of sunglasses. Whatever. I'm pumped about that.
That might be the most overused term in bass fishing.
It is a
and
Pro
bowling.
Staff deal.
I'm a Pro Staff guy.
But they're cool sunglasses. But the ones I'm wearing now, because I break them a lot, they're just a hair big for my head. And they're Costas. I like them. But here's the thing. When you get a buff, then you pull it up over your ears, so then you don't have to flex your head to keep your sunglasses from flying off, and then you don't have a headache or squint by the time you get there.
Okay.
You're not a buff guy.
No.
I've never seen you wear a buff.
No.
You going fishing? I saw the boat was uncovered back there.
Yeah, headed to Broken Bow.
Really?
Yeah.
Just
getting away with friends of ours.
Nice.
Going to Broken Bow. Have not been there since and I'm going to call it what it was when I fished it, the Federation qualifier.
You better
many years ago.
Better have your drop shots and top waters handy.
Oh, I'll be ready. There's a spinning rod and reel in the boat.
Okay.
Now the question is are you going to have a bait caster in the boat when you go to the SLR?
The St. Lawrence River?
Yeah.
No. I'm done with bait casters the rest of the year.
Even in Oneida, you're not going to have a bait caster?
Yeah, for a couple of it, but I'm going to be targeting brown fish. 90% of what I plan on doing the remainder of the year is with an egg beater.
Yeah. When's the last time you've been to Broken Bow?
It would have probably 2015 or 16. I fished a BFL, not regional, but the super tournament down there in like 13. Caught 6 pounds on 5 spotted bass. Finished 30th, but then I went when it was when they were on that A rig in the winter.
Oh, okay.
Trying to catch one of those giants.
This. For those people across the nation that may not be familiar with Broken Bow Lake, I've always said this: if you were in an airplane and you got pushed out with a parachute attached, and you landed in that area of Oklahoma, you would never think you were in Oklahoma.
No, it is a really, really cool lake.
Yeah.
It's like, it's got a mixture of everything. Yeah. It's not good to throw A-rigs in, though, because there's so much standing timber, like 10 foot down. It's like every third cast. You got to use the 80-pound braid and straighten your hooks out on it.
Yeah. I actually did very well in that Federation event there. I think I won day 1 and finished second on day 2. So
nice.
I don't even remember what I was using. Why don't you, any guess?
Is that your? Do you have it? Is that it right there? Was it a division?
No. It was just a qualifier.
What you were using? Carolina rig.
No.
Spook.
No. This was the first one of the year. It was like in the
a jerkbait.
No, early March.
A little swim bait?
No.
A grub. A spider jig. A spider grub.
It's not what it. Well, I guess some people call it that way. That was one of them. A
twin
chomper.
Tail. A chomper. Yeah, that's the same.
Yeah, and then the other one was a little finesse worm on a chomper head.
Okay.
You ever seen that done?
Nope.
So I'm sure Stephen Browning has. All it is a finesse worm on a jig head.
That's called a shaky head or a Ned rig now.
Right. Back then it wasn't.
Mm-hmm. Like Harold Allen.
This is a long time ago. This is like 30 years ago.
Harold Allen used to always say, yeah, we've thrown a shaky head for 40 years, Matt.
Yeah.
It's called a pork pin on a Texas rig. Like, I made a career on a shaky head.
Hey, I forgot to ask you, who was it, and forgive me because my memory is not that great. Who was it that talked about using a jig and pig that we had on the show that used pork? Do you remember that?
Multiple. Yeah, no, it was. Who was that?
Recently.
What tournament was it?
Had success using a jig and pig. I could not remember this morning. Because the question I have is whether or not there has been a request or kind of people out there.
They're bringing it back.
Wanting the jig and pig now. And what a better guy to talk to about the jig and pig than Stephen Browning. I'm sure he's thrown that a few times. Who was that? Viewers, help us out. Was it Watson? No. Was it Justin Kerr?
It might have been.
Yeah. I think it was Justin Kerr.
Who we still have to get on the show.
It wasn't Justin Kerr because this person was on the show talking about it.
I don't know.
I can't remember. Anyway, somebody help us out there on that if you remember. I have an excuse. Matt doesn't. I'm old. Forgetful. Don't remember things. What are you looking at? You trying to look it up?
Yeah, I'm trying to see who it was, but I don't think we're going to find it.
Yeah. All right, here's a question that I'm going to put position to the fans, to you. I was thinking about this last night. Do you think that the fans, not the anglers, but the fans, do you think the fans get bored of watching these smallmouth events?
I don't know. I think they're all different. I think
you guys tell us. I want to know.
Different strategies. I think the Elite Series is going to be different than MLF because you're going to have guys out in the lake. You're going to have guys employing, different techniques. But, I mean, let's be honest. Once you hook a smallmouth, it's kind of all the same.
It's not about catching. It's about landing.
Yeah. But I don't think it's really hard to get tired of watching 6-pound smallmouth get caught.
I get it, but it's the same thing over and over and over, unless you have some drama.
Mm-hmm.
And there's definitely not going to be any drama from the perspective of who's going to win Angler of the Year, at least on the elite side.
No.
Agree?
I agree.
The drama is going to be who's going to win.
And who's going to make the classic. And who's going to re-qualify.
That's the biggest drama.
But here's what I wish. Here's what I hope Bass does going into this final event. I would love to get, and it might be out there now, just like the rules are out there, and I didn't realize it. But I want to know what the points are with the drops, who's fishing for what, and who's fishing to requalify. So as I'm watching this on live, I know exactly what's going down, and it's not kind of one of those things that you know after the fact. You agree?
Yeah.
Set the table.
Yeah, I agree. But in thinking about that last night, I think people still watch. I think the fans obviously are still interested. I just think sometimes it gets kind of monotonous. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is, too...
Well, that's just a scheduling deal.
I agree. But here's the thing. Does it infuse the desire to go to those bodies of water at least one time in your life?
Absolutely.
Agree 100%. Even if it's somebody that is watching in New Mexico, Arizona,
it makes Alabama. You want to go up there, which is why the communities have the tournaments there.
But you have brought this up in many aspects. Is it getting to the point where a number of the people are just growing weathered, growing tired of seeing the same thing over and over and over and over?
I don't know. We'll have to see.
Fans, let us know.
Because this is definitely the biggest year that it's gotten pounded in. I mean, the St. Lawrence, we went through it. We talked with Jacob Wheeler about it and all the, just tournament after tournament after tournament. And now you've got back-to-back on Champlain with the Toyota Series there. After the Elite Series, you've got a bunch of different organizations going to the same spot on back-to-back weeks.
Yeah. So we'll see. Fans, you let us know. Hey, feel free to send me an email, mark@basszone.com. Would love to hear your thoughts on this subject, and we will definitely give the fans some of the feedback that we get from the fans and let you guys know.
Here's a quick question on that, though.
What's that?
How important is the northern swing to tackle companies' overall revenue during the year? That's my question. So you take a Z-Man and their Ned baits and their drop shop baits, or the Berkeley Max Center, something like, they have X amount of revenue that comes in throughout the year, right? And the baits that are being used up north on those tournaments that are highlighted for this next month and a half are all basically geared towards very specific fisheries in a very part of the country. So a guy who only fishes Lake Dardanelle, you see what I'm saying? He may not have that interest. He doesn't care that he can't get a hold of a flatworm.
But at the same time...
So that's what I'm saying. How much are they selling?
That's a good question.
At what percent of it are those guys going, we're about to bank because they're going up north? Or is it just, we're in it, we're following it, and there's really not that much that's being sold because they're not making as much for up there, and it's just in that little quadrant of the country, and the rest of the country isn't affected by the sales?
I think it's that geographical area of the country.
Can we get someone on to talk about
that? Yeah. I'll work on that. They definitely see an impact in those areas and those markets for the smallmouth fisheries. But I think what also happens is sometimes you see from the fans viewing and from the weekend guys, they pick something up that's taking place during some of these smallmouth events that they actually may possibly apply to their home body of water or where they spend a lot of time fishing. So definitely an economic impact in the area would be my educated guess, and then a smattering of impactful purchasing in other areas across the country. We'll see what Steven has to say about that. He may have some insight on that.
Yeah.
All right, but that's a great question. All right, let's do this. Let's take a break, and then we're going to come back with Stephen Browning. And what else are we going to talk about today? Did you have anything else after Stephen?
I'm sure we'll come up with something.
No? I didn't know if you had anything on your mind or anything. You have any letters?
You do. We got the MPFL going down this week at Pickwick, the fourth one. John Sukup looking for a 3 out of 4 because he's got 2 out of 3 wins.
Yeah. Throw some odds on that one.
I wouldn't bet against him.
10-1. Would you put any money at 10-1?
That'll just be boring. They'll all be drop shotting for smallmouth down in the horseshoe.
There we have it. All right, taking a break. Coming back with Stephen Browning here on a Tuesday. Everybody stay tuned. We'll be right back. Everybody loves to chase bass on the water. But is your most valuable asset protected when it's not on the water? Empire Covers can preserve your bass boat against even the harshest conditions. When the storm is coming, that bass boat needs to be protected. Check out EmpireCovers.com for all your cover needs. Empire Covers is the ultimate solution when it comes to protecting that asset. Empire Covers is the ultimate solution in easy protection for your truck, for your boat, for your car, anything that needs to be protected from the elements. BTL listeners can receive free shipping plus an extra 15% off their entire order on EmpireCovers.com. Just use the promo code BTL at checkout. Empire Covers. Protect what you love.
Elite FS puts the full range of Lowrance fish finding tools at your fingertips. Find fish with active imaging 3-in-1 with Fish Reveal. Target fish with active target live sonar and watch fish react to your lure as it happens. Built-in C-Map Contour Plus charts make it easy to find key fishing areas. But best-in-class charts and powerful sonar is only the beginning. It's easy to build your fully networked FS system. From sonar and waypoint sharing to controlling the Ghost trolling motor and power poles. Lowrance Elite FS. Targeting fish just got easier.
BassCat's legendary 20-foot platform has been paired with angler-approved accessories for 2021. Puma FTD features the proven hull used by many of the top names in bass fishing today, backed by a transferable lifetime warranty. The Puma FTD boasts a full team deck concept which enhances efficiency for you and your tournament partners. Turnkey tournament-winning performance. The Puma FTD SP from BassCat.
Let's face it, fishing electronics are no longer an afterthought. They've become a necessity. And at the Bass Tank, our experts match you with the right electronics, provide professional installation, and educate you to help maximize your catching results while providing support along the way. Because let's be honest, it's about catching, not just fishing. And when you're ready for better results, join the Bass Tank team. Visit us today on Facebook or go to thebasstank.com.
You've been waiting all week for this, and Sunline wants to make sure you're ready for it with bulk spools of all your favorite fishing lines.
Oh, it's so fun.
Bulk up with Sunline.
All right, we are back on a Tuesday. Beautiful Tuesday here in Oklahoma, man. This weather is incredible.
Well, it rained like 6 inches the other day.
Yeah. I don't think my yard has ever looked as good as it is right now in the month of July.
Well, you hired someone. You have two
No,
yard
I'm talking
people
about the
now.
yard.
You got 2 yard people.
I
You got
me.
Bob that takes care of the grass, and then you hired a dude to take care of the...
Robert's doing an outstanding job with the weed and feed.
And then you had the other dude who came in and
Well, we
brought
did-
all the mulch and the
Yeah.
rock and all that.
Yeah.
You're a good neighbor, and the chickens are gone.
Chickens are gone. Roosters are gone. It's a great day in the neighborhood. Yes, it is.
You are fully compliant with all of the... is that the HOA
Yeah.
rules? Are you the president of the HOA?
No, I am not.
You on the
I would
board?
never take that. No, I am not. I would never want that job at all. You have to deal with people like me.
Are you in one of the neighborhoods like where you can't park your boat out in front overnight?
Yes.
You can't?
Not supposed to. Still happens. But there's a lot of flexibility there.
Do you have to
A lot of consideration.
Okay.
Not very stringent.
All right.
All right.
You just need a couple statues outside of your...
I am not doing the statues.
You need to get
Jeez.
some of those lion or eagle
Statue.
statues.
No.
I could see a
Have
couple
no
of
reason.
giant cement bowling pins on either side of the entrance to your driveway. I think that would be a nice addition. You're one of the few in the neighborhood that does
No.
not have an ornamental
No. I want
African
no part.
animal
I want no
greeting
part
everyone.
of it, man. None. Zero. Crisp and clean. That's how my yard looks, man. All right, it is time to bring in our special guest, having a fantastic season on the BPT and fishing some local stuff, too. We'll get into that. Let's bring him in now. Steven, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate y'all having me on.
Yeah, great season so far, man.
It did. It started off good with the Red Crest, and been able to stay on that bus, and that it's going well. I can't complain, and I appreciate you guys taking notice of it.
Yeah. Well, it's been a while since we've had you on, and you still have a couple of events left. But when I was doing a little bit of research on you, one of the things that I noticed, you've been fishing some BFLs too, haven't you?
I have. You know, these locals around here in the state of Arkansas, they love beating up on me. And they do. They really do. They're not scared at all. Most of them, I should say. So it just kind of helps me stay in tune with what's going on. And I don't know if you guys realize this, but the All-American is coming to Hot Springs, and I'm looking at the lake right now that it's going to be on. So opportunity to possibly win some little extra cash.
Are you fishing those with Bo this year?
Bo is actually fishing in the Okie division.
Okay, because I was looking at that. Yeah. And I was like,
so he's fishing the Okie division. Their regional comes to Lake Ouachita. So he ran over there. He and a couple of his friends from the area here ran over there, and they're all in great shape to make the Ouachita regional.
There's a bunch of dudes whose like kids all of a sudden grew up and now they're really good fishermen. We were talking about that before with like, seriously though, like you look at what Cal Lane's doing. I'm going to forget him because I'm going to start naming them. You got Rambanus's boy who like lives on the water now. Cal Lane, Laker Howell, Bo, the Robertson's kids. I mean, like all these kids, and they're not just like out there doing it. They're like competing at BFL and regional and Toyota Series levels, and it's pretty darn impressive to see this group who, when I was out there covering the Elite Series and Mark was out there, they were like 10 and 11 years old fishing off the dock waiting for you guys to come in, and now they're like competitive, and they're only like 18, like 15 to 20 years old, and it's kind of scary.
Yeah, they are. Very scary. You know, there was a big gap between like Alton Jones Jr. and like Cal Lane and Bo and some of these other kids that are growing up. So, you know, we had a kind of a generation gap there for a little while, but now, you know, they're right on our coattails right now.
It'll be interesting. I would venture to say there might be 5 or 6 father-son combos on tour within the next 5 years. Would you not? I mean, that would be very realistic.
I can say,
yeah,
without a doubt.
All right, kind of sum up your season on the BPT this year, Steven. Why do you think you're having the success that you've had?
You know, it probably boils down to having fun. You know, it's a different format that that I have really grown to enjoy. I didn't really know what to expect in the beginning, but when there's a lot of elements that we are, that as far as the score tracker and everything, what you need to have, what other guys have, and it's kind of a risk reward type format. If you're behind and you need to take a risk, and you need to take that risk, then let's go take a risk. Where a 5-fish limit type format, you don't know anything about what the other guys are doing. You assume and it's a little riskier to take a risk. So, I've been able to put together a good solid first day on the BPTs, and that's probably the biggest factor, that when you're not fishing stressful, that stress isn't on that, the monkey's not on your back on day 2 trying to make that knockout round, then you make better decisions without a doubt.
And talk a little bit about that St. Lawrence River tournament. You started out really good. You made the knockout round, but then you finished 40th, and you caught 8 keepers on the final day. And we were watching how all this went down, but just talk a little bit about the dynamic of that and how you think the bite kind of changed as it went on for you.
That particular area, and some of the guys that watched it live might be aware of it. There was about 6 or 7 of us up in that Messina area, and I'm telling you, it died. John Cox was up there. He was the only guy up there, I think, in the finals, and it died on him. It was like a light switch. And that's how smallmouth fishing is. I mean, they're here one day, gone the next. And I think they were on the tail end of the spawn when we're there. And if you think about it, I fished the first day, had a really good day. And then I fished the third day and had a decent day. And then I'm there on the 5th day. So you're talking about fish that I found literally a week ago, trying to keep up with them and being on the water or off the water every other day. It's, you're hoping they're going to be where you left them 2 days ago. A lot of times that's not the case. And that knockout round is one that I'm starting to get it, starting to master it a little bit. I made a couple of top 10s this year. And, if I can get that knockout round down, then I think I'll be in more championship rounds. And you get more championship rounds, you're going to mess around and win one of these things one of these days.
Wow. I'm curious, and this may be a stupid question, but I just don't know. And I'm thinking, hey, maybe some of the other people out there don't know either. But when these smallmouth move, when they just all of a sudden your area is bone dry, are these fish typically following the bait fish? Is that what takes place? I mean, why are they all of a sudden gone, Stephen?
A lot of it, I think, has to do with that current. It's a steady current up there.
Yeah.
So, my philosophy is if they're there to spawn, and that's what they're doing. They're going to feed up just a little bit as soon as they get through spawning. And realistically, they don't have to move that far to get out there to where they're spending time now. And what I mean by that is that St. Lawrence River is very, it's known to have those fish move out there in that 18 to 30 feet water on ledges, that we're accustomed to see, like Guntersville ledges and places of that nature, and on those ledges. And literally they swim 200 yards and they go from 5 or 6 feet of water to 40 feet of water. And if you don't sample that just a little bit during that competition day, then you probably missed it. Me personally, you guys know, the listeners know, I barely keep 40 feet of string on my poles, and honestly, I like fishing shallow water, and that's, I just tried to find another group of fish that may have gotten overlooked on that, during that knockout round. And, my main goal going into the knockout or going into the St. Lawrence River tournament was to make sure I made the knockout round Red Crest 2022.
How much, not money, but how much time, how much effort do you spend in getting ready for the Northern Swing? I mean, you guys are going to be, at Champlain and St. Clair, I believe, to close out the year, and then you had the St. Lawrence River. Obviously, there's certain baits or certain techniques and stuff. Is that a deal where it takes you a week, 2 weeks, working with your sponsors, going to the tackle stores, getting everything ready just to go up there?
Matt, over the years, we've been up there so much that it's just a matter of really walking out there into the garage, opening up that tub that says Northern Swing on it, loading it up in the back end of your truck, and then calling Z-Man, telling him to send some extra Ned rigs or Ned baits and things of that. Make sure you got plenty, because I guarantee you my buddy's going to be going like, hey, do you have this? Do you have that? So,
and then kind of along those lines that we were talking about before we brought you in, how much impact do you think the Northern Swing and watching the guys on the BPT and Elite Series and Toyota Series and Opens up north have on the overall sales for those major companies?
There are a handful of companies that make hay during this time frame. There really is. And there's the majority of them that probably don't sell a whole lot, because they're, like you guys were talking about, you're either drop shotting, Ned rigging, or dragging a tube. That's about it, a few topwater baits. But it's, to me, the northern swings are more about what we bring to those communities. And if you look at those communities, they're not very big communities. Messina they have several big industries that shut down, so they don't have a lot of economic impact, on that town anymore. So you bring, a bunch of fishermen up there that go up there and show the world how great a fishery that St. Lawrence River is. Now, all of a sudden, that becomes a bucket list place for people to travel to. So it's a deal where, I can't tell you how many texts I get on the way home. I can't, I've got to put that place on my list to go. I doubt the boating industry, our style of boats sell, increase in sales up there simply because those places really weren't built for, God didn't intend bass boats to be there. He intended walleye boats and deep V's and stuff, and boats like that to be there. So, like I said, there are a few companies that make hay during this time frame, and then there's those that can't wait for us to get back down south to get back to traditional largemouth fishing.
One more question along those lines. Then it seems, we've talked to a lot of people in their setups, and guys seem like to be so dialed in on just the entire system up north, from getting them to bite to hooking to landing those fish. If you were going up there and you had to pick the most critical aspect, like I'm going to have this dialed in for northern smallmouth fishing, is it your bait and hook selection, your line, your reel, because all we hear is zzz for 5 straight days, or the rod and how you fight them? Like, what do you feel is the most important component to being successful up there as far as an equipment wise?
I honestly don't know that if it's the equipment or if it's the fact that you watch guys land some of these fish, Matt. These big ones, the ones you have to have, especially in these 5 fish limit contests. Those guys, it amazes me. You watch somebody like Jacob Wheeler, for instance. He lost very, very few fish in our event while he was up there. A lot of guys will get them to the boat, and it looks like you're trying to, run down a greased football. It's horrible. And me personally, I've not mastered that. If I could ever master that, wait at the right moment, grab them by the belly, and just bring them over, cradle them up, and bring them in the boat. That's as critical to me as it is about having the right rod, the right line, the right everything. It just, you think about it, guys. I live in Arkansas. We have very few smallmouth fisheries, especially anything that even compares to up north. It's hard to practice, It's almost like you need to stay a week after the event and really try to hone in on putting everything together to be more efficient when you go back up there.
It's interesting you say that, because a lot of the guys who are really good now at it, that's exactly what they did. That's exactly what they do. Like, I think Lucas did that when he got his camper, and Bertrand and Carl Jochimson and a bunch of those guys just said, I'm living up here for a month, especially after the organization signed multi-year deals.
Right.
It's in your best interest to get as dialed in on a fishery as you can, because for the next 3 or 4 years, at an integral part of your season, late in the year, most likely, July, August, September, you're going to be up there fishing, and on those natural rivers, natural bodies of water, we hear Frank Scalish talk about glacial deposits. Fish use the same spots year after year after year. The more dialed in you get in 2021, the better you're going to be when you get there in 2022 and 2023.
That's exactly right. Exactly right. And that is a thing, and we talk about that while we're out there on the road too, about a lot of the younger guys, the guys that are in their upper 20s, 30s, that have spent a lot of time after events, not going up there and pre-fishing, but after the event, after you kind of get dialed in on what the fish are doing, and then going after the event and really, honing in on it, on that line size, on that hook size, on that bait size, on that rod, power of your rod. And, those guys, you look at, when I looked at the group that I was in, going up there on the St. Lawrence River, there was no doubt we had some smallmouth hammers in my group. And I'm not knocking Group B at the time, but you look at the weights that we had compared to the weights that Group B had. And
Group A was stacked.
That was
the first thing we looked at. We looked at, boy, there's about, out of the 40, there's 20 of these guys that are looking at this list going, are you kidding me?
Right. Right. And we sum it up. I sum it up every time. The thing about it is you're going to be with that group for 2 events. So here we go to Champlain, and I'm still with those guys.
Oh,
so
gosh.
They just going to have to scoot over is all I can tell them.
Hey, Stephen, how do you approach practice on these smallmouth bodies of water? Do you hook a lot of fish? Do you practice landing a lot of these fish? How important is it to define the type and quality of fish that you're on during practice?
Well, my deal is I just want to get bites. My thinking is if I can get in an area that has a population of fish, then I can go back in there, during the event, when it counts, so to speak, and really try to expose everything in that area. I try to leave a little unknowns out there simply because I don't want to go and fish every point in an area and go, if I don't get bit on this one or this one, something's going wrong. So I leave a little bit unturned so I can go back in there and fish it fresh during the event. And that's I did that at Chickamauga. There was an area that I did not exposed during the practice, but I knew it looked good enough that I was going to spend some time there. So that's, and it worked out well for me. And that's kind of what I do on these smallmouth bodies of water. If I can figure out a bite that's a quality bite, how deep that fish was, and if I can roll with that, then I try to leave, several places untouched. That way I can go back and fish them fresh during the event and have a fresh mind.
Interesting. That's good stuff there. Now, a lot of people on the instant feedback want to know, did you use a flogger in that last event?
No, I'd be honest with you. I didn't get that flogger note until after the first day of competition. Some of us don't get those, those emails coming through the pipe. So no, I did not use the flogger.
Have you ever used one at all?
I don't think I've ever been around one. I really don't.
Huh.
And but some of those guys did. They fared well. I would have been the guy that would have been on his back, and I'd have been about the color of that wall that you guys are on, green.
You get seasick?
Oh, I get seasick bad.
Really?
Oh, I hate I was so happy that Buffalo didn't want us back there anymore because it's horrible.
Like puking.
Really is.
Like throwing up over the side.
Oh yes.
Always been like that.
Yeah, always.
That's crazy. You're like the ultimate outdoorsman. I guess you're just born with it.
Well, it's like, I live in Arkansas. I don't live in the ocean. By the ocean.
Hey, one more kind of question about kind of preparation and practice. We talk about all these events going to it, and literally there's 800 or 900 guys who are going to be fishing up there between the Toyotas and the Opens and all that. You guys are going to Champlain. The Elite Series is there. There's events on St. Clair. There's more events on the St. Lawrence River coming up with Elite Series and Opens. So the Toyota that's going on now at Champlain, the Elite Series that went on at Champlain. Now, you guys are a month out from that. That's not till August 5th through 10th. Is there relevant stuff now that you can glean by looking at all that public information that will kind of dictate where, when, and how you approach that lake? Or is it going to be different a month from now?
I think the biggest thing that I'm going to take away from the Elite Series being there was the location of where the majority of the guys who really caught those areas. It's out there. Very few came from the Ticonderoga area. Mm-hmm. So, I won't even mess with that. So I'm going to be focusing on in that upper region. And I think that's the biggest takeaway. Even though, those guys are out there fishing for 5, still that they're quality fish, and I know darn well there's plenty of 2-pounders swimming around out there with them too. So, that's what I took away from the Elite Series last week for sure.
Interesting. How many times have you made that run to Ticonderoga?
I think I made it once, and I didn't enjoy it at all. And, my favorite place to fish up there is in that Missaquoia Bay area. But I did notice that there was not very many guys that had success there either. So, but don't get me wrong. I'm going to stick my nose in there during practice for, several hours for sure.
How about the marker buoys?
Well, again, Mark, anytime you get out there around things like that, it requires a little more line on your reels. And look, man, wow. if I can see, there's places that I know that those fish live up there. There's some things that I was surprised didn't show up there, and one of them was like a big chartreuse bladed spinnerbait.
Yeah.
On some 16, 20-pound line slinging, and you know what I mean? I'm like, dang, if they'll eat a topwater, surely they would have eaten a spinnerbait.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that brings up an interesting question. Do you think, and even though guys can't talk, and some guys talk on whatever trail or whatever tournament's taking place, do you think that guys get too dialed in to what I call trends? In other words, what the trend is, and they don't really truly do a good job at evaluating. And I'm going to give an example. Just like Matt, he doesn't like throwing a Carolina rig.
What?
It's old, it's slow, he just refuses to throw it.
Not efficient.
But there are certain situations, even when it's not the trend, that a Carolina rig might be the absolute juice.
Absolutely.
Do you think that takes place in this day and age more often?
I never come in from practice when I don't throw the old traditional baits that used to catch them.
Okay.
Never. And that when I first started going up north, it was a 3/4 ounce chartreuse spinnerbait with chartreuse blades on it. Throw it out there like a 3.5 and a 4.5 and reel it as fast as you can and hold on. And now it's spy baits and hair jigs. What did all of a sudden, these fish, did they get somebody tell them, hey, you can't bite that chartreuse spinnerbait anymore? I don't think so. The Carolina rig, if you go back in history and look at when I first started fishing, I had more top tens on a Carolina rig than probably any other bait that I had. And I still, I check them on that. I would rather throw a Carolina rig and than I would like a big deep diving crankbait. You're doing the same thing, you're getting the bait down there to where they're supposed to live. So, and it's a little more laid back, true, and a little more slow, but it still produces and it produces well.
But when was the last time in a tournament competition that you just slugged them on a sea rig?
That would have been the event Kevin Worth won on
Old Hickory.
Old Hickory.
Yeah. So it's been over a decade.
That's because nobody
it's
really
been like
throws
14 years.
Yeah.
Nobody throws it.
Right.
The trend. Hence, a follow-up question to that is, do you think that a lot of the young anglers, and I'm talking about guys that are really wanting to get into the weekend tournaments and, they're starting to fish BFLs and they're starting to fish that next level, that they pay too much attention to the trends and don't really analyze what the situation is that's taking place on the water?
I think so, absolutely, Mark. That the deal is you take somebody like my son, Bo. You would think that he would be, let's find the dirtiest water on the lake and let's get in there and do it because that's what Dad does. He doesn't fish anything like I do. Nothing like I do.
He's a big swim bait, clear water guy, isn't he?
Right.
Yeah.
He is like all about. He's going to school up at Drury University in Springfield, Missouri. The reason he wanted to go up there because he absolutely loves table rock. And it's like, I like table rock, but it's not one of my. It's not on my top 10 list by no means. And but it's deep, clear. He likes the spinning reels, spinning rods, the lighter stuff, and that's just his style of fishing. And it works well for him. Don't get me wrong, but he, you would think that he would be more like me. Let's go run up the river and find us some old, shallow water to get into. But he is not that way. You don't hear that anymore. I mean, you don't see guys like the George Cochran style of fishing. Let's run over that flat and go in there where that 3 feet of water is on the other side of that sandbar and expose that. I mean, it's all about electronics. It's all about, getting offshore and catching those fish that they think nobody fishes for, which are the fish that get fished the most right now.
Yeah.
Do you think that maybe some of your success is because you are targeting fish that are less pressured and there are more guys out there looking at them? Like, have you noticed a difference where you're like, man, 10 years ago there'd be 6 guys down this bank and now it's me?
Yeah, funny you say that, Matt. There's been days on the water when used to, and when I fished over on the Elite Series, if you weren't fishing around someone, you missed it. I mean, you just did. Now, in the Major League Fishing, I fished several events, and I have not seen anybody. And it's like, oh, wow, did I miss it? And then all of a sudden, when it starts clicking, it's like, no, they missed it. I didn't miss it. They did. They just they're behind me, and I've really had a lot of clean water, and that's probably the reason I've had a lot of success. I'm not sharing a lot of water with other anglers, so it's kind of managing those fish and making sure you get to that next round.
Interesting. With it being the summer, and in certain areas of the country, I mean, they're just getting obliterated with heat on the West Coast and some of the areas out there, and on the East Coast in some areas. But it's been a pretty mild summer so far. With your vast experience, Stephen, are there fish out there this time of the year still shallow that people should be targeting?
My son just won a tournament this weekend, and here it goes. I said he doesn't fish like this. He did stick with me. He and Trey Swindle. Trey came over from Alabama, and Bo and Trey won a tournament this weekend on a lake. Everything they caught was in less than 3 feet of water. Big ones.
Wow.
At over 22 pounds, and everything came in less than 3 feet of water, while everybody was out there on the ledges thinking that that's where they were. So those fish never leave, Mark. I don't think that is so long as they have something to eat, they will never leave that shallow water. They're resident fish, and that's just they're comfortable, and they don't leave that areas.
Again, not related to lures, but more technique. Do you think that people get persuaded during their practice based upon perception?
Wow, that's a fancy question.
Absolutely, they do.
Yeah.
There is no doubt that you look, and this, it's kind of like this is what should be happening. So, off they go, and that's what they're looking for. I think with age, it's kind of helped me put that factor out. Don't worry about that. I don't care what they should be doing. I want to know what they are doing. And, being out here as long as I have, I know that any given tournament can be won shallow and it can be won deep. And, to me, I try to stick with what I'm comfortable doing. And that's, fishing that water that's probably less than 12 feet of water. And if I can do that, then I'm going to have confidence with whatever I'm doing throughout the course of the day.
Interesting.
I really thought largemouth would play on the St. Lawrence River. I mean, you see how those things are? Was it just the fact that the water was too low?
I think that had a big fact. It was like 3 feet lower than what it was the last time we were there. And I had a little largemouth deal, I thought, is the reason I didn't have a stellar day that last day, because I was like, I'll go check those and wasted a lot of times. I don't know what they were doing, to be honest with you. a lot of the guys that were that have had some success with big bags of 5 in some of the elite deals.
John Murray,
that's
20 mid-20s bags. But then I've fun fished up there where it's every third cast on a frog is a 2.5 pounder, and you can wench them in and get back out there, and there's 50 under a mat.
You didn't see that. You didn't see that. So I don't know if it was because we were there earlier. We were there like the season had just started.
Yeah.
In New York. So, it was kind of like those fish haven't grouped up and really gotten in the big wads that they normally are in when we're there in July and August.
It'll be interesting to see in the final 2 stops, either on Champlain, which obviously is usually a mixed bag, or Lake St. Clair that has some hidey holes, if we get to the final round and see one guy that just ducks when everyone else dodges, and you got 9 guys out for browns and 1 guy up there keeping pace with greens.
Yeah, he's not going to be keeping pace, I don't think. No.
Yeah, I think Steven's right.
It's a brown or you're going to go down up there. I can promise you. No doubt.
Yeah. All right. This is a question, Steven, that's kind of off the main page, but you being from Arkansas, I didn't know if you might know anything about this at all. But here in Oklahoma, I have noticed here over probably the last 3-4 weeks a tremendous amount of promotion for people in Oklahoma to make their way to Arkansas and fish Arkansas lakes. And I do not recall any other state really making a push here in Oklahoma to say, hey, we know you got lakes in Oklahoma, but we want you to come over to Arkansas. Do you know anything about that? And is this thing a viable trip that people in surrounding states of Arkansas definitely need to make their way to fish some of the Arkansas lakes?
Well, one thing about Arkansas lakes is like Lake Ouachita sits around there. It doesn't have anybody. There's a few commercial docks. Other than that, it's just the lake that was built, back in the 50s. It's still the same. Lake DeGray's the same way. And, there's several lakes that we don't allow, people to build right there on the waterway.
Yeah.
So I think the tourism department is trying to get some of these Oklahoma people over here. We have a tremendous amount of people from the Texas, Louisiana area that already know about all this. Now there's a handful of people over in Oklahoma that venture over to Arkansas, like Ouachita, Millwood, some of the better known lakes. And Bo's over in Oklahoma today. He may bring somebody back with him, and so. Yeah, he's over on Broken Bow today. So I think it's just a tourism deal.
That's where Jeffries is going.
I know.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to tell Mark, if you see a Red Ranger out there that has jackal on the side of it, it says Stephen Browning, I'm really not there.
Well, Jeffries is excited because he's an information hound, so he's going to be hitting you up after to get in touch with Bo to see what's going on at Broken Bow.
Yeah, just to catch some fish. It's not a tournament. It's just a fun trip.
He absolutely loves it over there. Lance Crawford, a good friend of ours, fishes on the Tackle Warehouse Pro Tour. His son is just a stick over there, and Lance has always said, you guys, he's got a cabin for us and the whole 9 yards over there. But Bo absolutely loves Broken Bow.
Nice. You believe in Bigfoot, man? They keep saying that Bigfoot's down there somewhere.
Oh, right. Really?
Well, actually, Bigfoot is here in Arkansas.
Really?
Yes, sir. He may east over here to Oklahoma every once in a while, but he's down there in Fouke, Arkansas.
I almost got attacked by one.
Lake, which is not very far from there. So he has big strides. So I'm sure he's ventured over there and tested Oklahoma out.
You've spent more time in the woods than anyone. You ever had a encounter that made you kind of raise your eyebrows and go, I wonder what that was?
Not yet, Matt, but I'm always looking over my shoulder.
I had one in Alaska. I am convinced that when I was in Alaska, I was on the verge of being attacked by Bigfoot.
No doubt.
I'm serious.
It's a grizzly bear.
No, like my buddy and his dad who owned the lodge there, one of my best friends, and it was just us three, and we landed in this. It's called the Talchalitna River. I mean, there's no other humans within 100 miles.
Huh.
We land on the sandbar, and we start hearing some stuff, and we heard some calls, and he was like, man, you might want to get back towards the helicopter. And then all of a sudden, this tree about 6 rows back, and we're facing the river, just goes, boom! And it just got knocked over, and then we heard this loud knocking noise, and he was like, dude, we're out of here. And these are hardened woodsmen. And I'm like, what is that? And they're like, that's a Yeti.
That's it.
And it was in the native territory, and it was, I think I had an encounter with one. I just wondered, Steven's been all over the woods and all over the place. And I mean, if you listen to any of the Bigfoot shows, those are telltale signs that you're about to get attacked.
Well, don't tell Hackney where that place is, because I can guarantee you he will be on his way up there.
Hey, how many times, and may not at all, but how many times have you done something like a fly-in to Canada?
Just during that one time, during that survival show that I did back in 06, I think.
That's it?
06, something like that.
Wow, I would have thought it would have been more than that.
Yeah.
What do you remember from that trip? Was that just, I mean, forget about all the chaos that's going on with the show, but were you able to enjoy anything about that fly-in like that?
We saw a lot of bear and stuff on the way in. It was like 200 miles north of Vancouver, and I'm talking about up in the middle of nothing. And, that just the remoteness of that place was just crazy. I mean, that's probably like you're up there flying, and you're flying at some low altitude and just not seeing anything but woods and water. I mean, I knew it was going to be one of those places where, if something happened, it was going to be bad. We had a guy that dehydrated on the first or second day, and they had to helicopter him out of there. And, it was a bad deal. And I'm just sitting there going like, good night, man. We're out, and, you talk about being out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
We were out in the middle of nowhere.
Oh, yeah.
I mean.
That's a bucket list thing for me, to do one of those fly-ins.
You've never done a fly-in?
No, Matt's done it.
No, I've done the portages. I've never actually done I've done a bunch of fly-ins in Alaska, but not in Canada for like the smallmouth and the pike. Like I've done the helicopter and the beaver and the otter, like all the fly-ins you can do in Alaska. I got super lucky You
got connections, don't you?
I am hooked up in Alaska. But as far as the Canadian fly-in, I've done the portage where, you drive to the lake and then you get the guy and you go down a road with like 9-foot potholes in it, and then you have to carry the canoe and the motor, or the boat and the motor, and hook it all up, and it's a lot of work. Yeah. Bob, the guy we used to do the portage with, always freaked my dad out. He would hook up the gas can to the motor while he burned a dart.
What?
Yeah. I just remember that. My dad always, every year, was like, oh, Bob's going to hook it up with a lit cigarette. Bob and June up in Canada.
Wow.
They would take us up to Dawson Lake.
Wow. Nice. All right, Steve, let me ask you another kind of obscure question, but I don't remember the year. I think it was either 98 or 99 when the Millennium took place, the Millennium event. Do you think that we will ever see a bass tournament that is going to pay $1 million? No matter, I'm not talking any organization, whatever, but do you ever think that we're going to see a bass tournament where the winner gets $1 million?
Guy, I'm going to say probably not. And the reason I say that is, back in those days, a lot of the companies that were involved with that event, their marketing dollars, there was a lot of marketing dollars going just toward that one event to make it that way. Now, those marketing dollars, in my opinion, are spread out so vastly. I don't know how they could ever get to rake a bunch of that stuff back up and put it out there for an event like that. I don't know. Honestly, it's not Well, it may be $1 million. In Johnny's the Bass Pro Shop deal that takes place in Table Rock later on this year.
Yeah.
Is it not worth $1 million?
I think the team tournament might be the final. You want to hear some interesting stats about that Millennium? We're talking about TV ratings and it on broadcast, and I just pulled this up. Interesting. It debuted on Fox Sports on November 7th, 1999.
Wow.
Did you know that?
No, I was
and we're
right
talking
on the
about
year,
all the crazy Fox Sports, but it said the broadcast outdrew NBC's New York Marathon, and among the all-important male demographics, it beat the Marathon, the Breeders' Cup, and ABC's World of Golf Championships. The show's 1.8 to 4 beats the average rating for the WNBA on NBC, NHL on Fox, the Gravity Games, MLS Soccer on ABC, and regionally it was a ratings home run.
It's hard to imagine. It doesn't seem like that's been over 20 years ago.
It is. This is interesting. Irwin Jacobs said the only thing certain in life are death, taxes, and that there will be more bass fishing on network television. That's from a January 2nd article.
Wow.
2000. 21 years ago.
How about that?
Wow. A lot of people fishing today don't even know that the Millennium existed.
Right.
But for those...
There's a lot of old history that people they have forgotten. I mean, it really is, and it's a shame that we're in a world now that everything is happening. It's happening right now. You kind of forget about the past. Thus, the Carolina rig. Thus, the chartreuse bladed spinnerbait. I mean, and people just forget.
Yeah, so. You fished that tournament, didn't you? Were you in the Millennium? Yeah,
I sure did.
What do you remember from it?
I remember having one that was as big around as this table that I'm sitting on right now, sitting by in the Tules, and I didn't catch that fish, and that fish no doubt would have put me into the final round. That's what I remember the most. I could almost go back to the same little patch and tell you he was living right there. Didn't even know I had one. It was so freaking big.
On a swim jig or flipping?
No, flipping. I was flipping a beaver style bait.
Like over 10?
Oh, I don't know, Matt. It was.
Well, you can't say.
When I first stuck it, I thought I was on the bottom, and then I cranked a few times, and it started to come up, and I saw the side of a bass that I'm telling you guys looked like a trash can lid.
What lake?
The old metal trash cans.
Yeah. What lake was it?
Trash cans. I was like, oh my gosh, this is the biggest fish I've ever seen in my life. And it just came up, rolled, and went right back down. And evidently I didn't have it. I had it skin hooked, and I was just like, you got to be kidding me.
Wow.
This happened to me in this last tournament I fished on Saturday. Good bite, big bite, 25-pound string, jacket, comes in, hook's not even penetrated from it. And I've always heard that was her. That was the big one. Do you find that too? Those big ones, it's harder to get the hook through the plastic? Explain how that happens.
Well, it's all that you get this in smallmouth too. They'll come up when they jump and spit the bait out. All they're doing is opening their mouths. I mean, it's a deal where their mouths are so tight on that bait that when you pull, especially on a like a lead head or a weight, you never even move that bait. It's just in there. They don't know that they're hooked. So when they jump and open their mouth, and that's what they do. When they jump, they open their mouth, and as soon as they open their mouth, whatever's there flies out. You never break you never break the plastic. You never, I mean, it's like, my gosh. So, yeah, I get that a lot.
Interesting.
Well, I won't say a lot, but I get that. It happens, especially on shallow water fish. I mean, they clamp down on it so hard, you never move that bait inside their mouth. And if you don't move that bait, there's no way that hook point's going to, number one, penetrate the plastic, or make contact with the roof of their mouth to get the hook to start.
Last question then, how do you fix that? How do you get it in their mouth? Because I like to catch those fish that clamp down on it. Those are typically key fish, Steven.
Right. You know, I taught. Where was I? I was at Chickamauga this year, flipping in some grass, and I had that happen. And after the event, I hollered at Hackney, and I asked him. I said, "Dude," you said, "do you on flipping fluorocarbon? Do you snail hook your line? You know, your hook, snail knot your hook?" And he says, "Always." So I've gone back. I used to do it, and then I went through a phase where I didn't lose hardly any at all. And then it's like, maybe I need to start doing that again, because like you said, Matt, the one fish that you need, if everything doesn't go just right, and it could be that knot, it could be, whatever it might be, that's the fish you need. And you lose him because maybe, did you have a snail knot going on with you?
Did not, just 25-pound fluoro with a Palomar. And
in your mind, you thinking 25-pound, I can lean on him as hard as I want to lean on him.
I did. I gave him the business. I mean, I said, there it is. I said, that's the one. I mean, it was the slow swim off, and I reeled down and cracked it, and I said, biggin. Like, it was one of those. And then it came in the plastic. I mean, the hook point wasn't even through it. I'm like, how is that even possible? And my buddy Brock was like, dude, that was a biggin.
Yeah. You never moved the bacon.
Yeah.
Snail.
Yep.
There you have it. Hey, didn't Daryl Robertson win the Millennium?
He did. He won the first one.
And then Scott Suggs.
No. Suggs won the first $1 million for the Cup. I believe Dudley won the next one.
Dudley won the okay.
Robinson won. Daryl won that won the Millennium in '99 though.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Sure did.
All right, man. Great stuff. I know earlier in the show, Matt and I talked about a guest that we had that we couldn't remember that said that this year during a tournament, the jig and pig was a huge factor in his success. The historical advantage of that bait back in the day and what we talked about earlier about the perception of that bait, do you think that's one of those baits that people just forget about when the conditions call for the jig and pig? Are there people, obviously he does, but do you think that is one of the things that people just overlook and don't even try it?
I honestly think if you could get good pork today, trailers that you would see more of it. You can't find it. And what I was told by Uncle Josh, because I visited with him about this situation.
Yeah.
The way they raise pigs nowadays, they don't ever get any fat on. So that skin and fat combination, it's not there like it used to be in the old days.
Wait, Uncle Josh is an actual person? Like you can go talk to Uncle Josh? Like the dude.
I call him Josh. Some people call him Uncle Josh.
Oh.
But that is what they said, that the pig fat, it's so thin that once you start drying it out to make that pork trailer, you get nothing out of it. You just get skin. So there's nothing there.
So you have to raise pork trailer pigs.
That's
like
right.
Specific pigs where it's like you
homemade
are going to be
pork trailers.
You are going to be a jig trailer.
Now look, I'm going to tell you. Now this is the whole outdoor world, from duck hunting to jigging pigs to the pig part of the jig. Everything has changed so much in the last 20 years.
Yeah.
That it's just. I mean, it's like. Things are different. The way they harvest food now, or the way they pick, rice fields. There's nothing there for the birds to eat when they come down. So, what do? The way they grow pigs, they don't grow them to be fat. They grow them to be, meaty and quick. So we don't have any pork trailers anymore. Whoever the guy was that you guys interviewed, I would like to know, because I would like to go look in his garage, because I can tell you without a doubt he stocked up on them when they were good.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't mind having a few jars, because that's kind of one of my go-to deals back
All
in
right.
the day.
I will find out. I'll go back and look at the archives and shoot you a text and let you know who it was.
Please.
Yeah.
And they just feed them a lot of blueberries if they want like a black and blue trailer.
That's
or
right.
a lot of like celery if they want a green pumpkin trailer.
Oh,
That's the way they used to do it, Matt.
There's a comment on the YouTube comments. Why don't they use wild hogs? Because that kills two birds with one stone with all the issue about all the wild hogs all over the place.
That is a great, I don't know who the guy that commented that or gal that commented that, but
yeah,
that's
TK.
your way to making an impact not only on the world, but fishing in the whole 9 yards.
I'll tell you what, the guy who commented that, he could actually make it happen.
There you go.
That's great stuff there.
Wild hog pork trailers.
I'm all in.
Support conservation and use a piece of the past.
More. Wow.
Catch more bass.
Tired of Carolina rigging? Try TK's wild hog pork trailers on your next jig. On your triple rattleback.
That's good stuff there. All right, Steven. A couple people want to know and we can wrap this up, if you have any good Jeff Crete stories that you could pass along. Is there one that you could close out the show, close out your segment with a Jeff Crete story?
Well, he's going to get on to me about this, but I'm gonna tell it anyway.
All right.
So, back a few years ago, Crete, he would walk around, and I mean, he would be like, he was just always livid. I mean, like mad at the world, Yeah. And I think he was taking too much testosterone. So I think he's gotten off the testosterone and he's mellowed out. He's really is having a lot. I think he's having more fun now than he has in the past because he's a little bit more laid back. He looks good.
Yeah.
I mean, the dude looks like he could tear the trailer ball off of a hitch, man. And I didn't remember him being that big, so I don't know if he's been juicing up or not, but
hitting the weight room.
Yeah.
A lot of bench pressing.
He's been in the weight room.
Well, you guys could run through the woods and jump in the lake and climb over docks now, so you got to have a lot more upper body strength to land the fish. There's a strategical advantage there.
No, he's probably going to that 24-hour gym that's in this old abandoned downtown Ardmore shopping area. That every town, it seems like here in Oklahoma, has one of those 24-hour gyms in the little remote towns. Not that Ardmore is remote. It's just the historical downtown area of Ardmore. They have one of those gyms there, I think.
Yeah, I quit working out like 35 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you seen inside his truck lately? Is it still a mess?
It's a mess, and it will always be a mess.
Okay. There we have it.
Yeah. He's not changed there at all.
I remember the first time, this is years and years ago, that we had to run somewhere. We were going somewhere, and he looked at me. He goes, "Can we take your truck?" And I'm like, "Well, I kind of have a bunch of stuff in there." And he goes, "You don't want to see mine. I got a few things in there too. Let's just move the stuff you have in the front seat of your truck to the back seat and we'll be good to go." Well, I looked at his truck later and now I understood why he wanted to take my truck.
Hey, the funniest thing was back in the days when we used to have to put motor in the, in the oil reservoir, or put oil in the oil reservoirs for our engines.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Literally, the kid would have 20 empty jugs of oil like this. And I'd be like, "Creep, what? I'll get to it. I'll throw them away. I just haven't found a place to dispose of them." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh."
Yeah.
So,
all right.
Yeah.
Well,
he's still the same way.
That's cool. Well, Steven, man, thank you so much for taking time out. I know you guys got a little bit of a break, and we appreciate you coming on, telling the fans and Matt and I some really, really good stuff. And hopefully the success that you're having this year will continue.
Well, I appreciate it, guys. I really do. And again, I appreciate you guys noticing that, the old guys can still catch them every once in a while.
Yeah. Well, have fun up north, and we'll be watching, and we'll get you back on soon, Steven.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
All right, man. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
See ya. There you have it. Steven Browning. Some good stuff in there, man.
Yeah, I now have a standing offer. Anybody in a professional tournament who records a top 10 primarily on a Carolina rig. Doesn't matter. Just a top 10. They're on the show. They get an entire day to come on and talk about it.
Very nice. We'll do that. All right, we're going to take our final break. Come back, wrap things up here on a Tuesday. Everybody stay tuned.
I've made my living on the water for over 20 years.
For 14 years.
For over 23 years.
I've worn a bunch of different clothing brands over the years.
Some companies big, and some companies small.
All of them said they were making clothing for us. But none of them knew us.
None of them were us. Except for one.
Except for one.
Except one.
AFCO.
AFCO.
AFCO. AFCO. Fishing isn't part of us. It is us.
Everyone, Brandon Polnick here. People always be asking me what I got tied on. And I'm like, X-Zone lures. And they're like, Brandon, why you got X-Zone lures tied on? And I'm like, let me show you why.
The bite.
Get out of there. Get out of there. Oh, yeah. Oh, it's freaking big. Get in here. Oh, God. Giant. Oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh.
I think you get the point.
There's one.
You know what works. Now you need a bunch of them so you don't run out on your next fishing trip. The Big Bite Pro Packs feature 25 baits per pack at a price far below that of having to buy 5 packs of regular baits. Now the Pro Pack has a big brother, the Mega Pack. The Mega Pack features 100 of your favorite baits.
With these, one bag is usually plenty to get through the day. It helps me stay organized, helps me save money, helps me catch more fish.
All of us on the Pro Tournament Trail use Gamakatsu hooks.
Why?
Because they are absolutely the best.
It's not about how many bites you get,
it's how many you put in the boat.
Gamakatsu makes hooks for every fishing style.
We didn't come this far to lose fish.
Did you?
For more information, visit gamakatsu.com.
Pro-inspired, pro-designed. Tested and proven by legends on the water. Dominating the tournament trail for over 50 years. Everything you need, one legendary brand. Strike King.
Hey guys, Major League Fishing Pro, Jacob Wheeler here with my new Signature Series line of rods with Ducket Fishing. We have my 7.2 cranking rod right here. Crankbaits can be very fickle, and having the right, having a lot of tip can be too much, and having not enough tip can, lose a lot of fish. So you really got to be careful. If there's one or two techniques that I'm really adamant about having the perfect action is a crankbait, especially like a square bill, a DT6, those medium running crankbaits in the springtime when those fish's mouth are pretty tough. That's when I'm really on top of having my actions just perfect.
The Little John family of crankbaits designed by top tour pro John Cruz have excelled at catching bass in any condition for years. They all feature a flat-sided design and paint jobs that are seldom seen in mass production bait. The Little John family also expands with new rattling versions of the Little John 50 and Little John 50 MD. Both of these baits are proven fish catchers that will now be available in rattling versions for stained and muddy water. They feature the same great action and diving depths as the original 50 and MD sizes.
The Ned Rig. What rod should I be using with the Ned Rig? My favorite is the Denali Lithium multi-spin rod. It's our 7'4" length, great Ned Rig rod. It's got a great sensitive tip on it. It's long enough where I can make long casts, which you're usually fishing clear water with a Ned Rig, and it's got enough backbone to get those fish in. So check it out, Denali Lithium Series 7'4" multi-spin.
right, we are back. Wrapping up Tuesday. And if you didn't catch the whole interview with Stephen Browning, definitely need to go back and watch the replay on that one. And hopefully, let's keep our fingers crossed for those people that hopefully will be listening on iTunes. They will be able to get this episode, of which no technology issues whatsoever. What are you doing?
I'm reading the comments and then watching this thing on the... One of the listeners sent me a link to the Mark the Bird Fidrich who talked to the ball.
Yeah.
Congratulated everybody. Fixed the mound.
He was awesome, man.
That's from a couple weeks ago. You were mentioning him.
Yeah.
And then also there's some people who are doing Jacob and a bunch of guys are doing research on why hogs are no longer fat. Has to do with the speed of the growth. And
instead of pouring plastics out in the garage, you're going to be raising pigs for your trailers,
farmer
man.
For the fattest pork trailers on the market.
Wow. Interesting stuff. All right, folks, tomorrow, great show. We're going to have Justin Lucas on. And then we're also going to have Michael on with Bass Boat Marketplace.
Okay.
To talk about the partnership that we formed with him to try and get everybody out there, all the BTL fans, some great deals on bass boats, used bass boats, if you're looking for a used bass boat. And then if you're in the market to sell one, we're going to give you an opportunity to actually sell it live here on BTL. So Matt and I will critique and help you out during the review that you're going to be doing live of whatever bass boat that you want to try and sell.
Sounds good.
We did that, a couple of years ago, kind of tested it out and worked okay. Worked good. Guy ended up selling his boat.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. It was like a 9-year-old, 8-year-old bass cat.
It was a heck of a deal.
It was a great deal. It was a clean boat. So we will do that. Hey, are you an Olympics guy? Do you watch the Olympics? Do you get into it? Or is it just something that just passes by? Oh, yeah.
No.
Mark Spitz won another gold medal.
I watch the Olympics.
It's going to be kind of weird with no fans, no crowd at any of the events this year.
Yeah.
Because they're in a critical phase of the COVID virus over in Japan. I forget what they called it. But they're not going to have any fans at any of the events. So a different kind of dynamic. What's your favorite Olympic event?
So obviously the ice hockey in the Winter Olympics.
No, Summer Olympics, dude.
I like the sprinters.
Track and field.
Yeah, like
100 meter.
The 100 meter, you're saying, you know, the guys who get out there and just literally they train their whole lives for 9 seconds, 8 seconds?
Yeah. 100 meter
pretty
hurdles.
Impressive.
That's another one.
Mm-hmm.
You like the gymnastics?
I'm okay with it.
When it gets down to the crunch time?
Yeah.
Perfect 10 from the Russian
judge. Actually, last Olympics, really enjoyed watching the golf.
Yeah.
Really got it. Are they having it in this one?
I don't know.
I know they got baseball back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Beach volleyball?
No.
I like watching that.
Not into it. Fishing will never be in the Olympics.
Remember they were trying to do a push for that?
Skateboarding. I guess skateboarding's in the Olympics this year.
It's really interesting.
Bowling is not in the Olympics.
But it could be. I mean, every time they host it, they have like an option of certain sports that they want in it.
Yeah. Man, we have started a quest now with the whole pig thing.
I told you.
I want to see somebody do it. That would be very, very cool to see. I'm raising pigs for trailers, not the ones they get hauled around in.
Yep.
There's people out there that would do it. All right, man. Anything else?
No, looking forward to tomorrow. And after this, I'm gonna film the fantasy fishing for the Open Pros Pick'em. I had a horrible fantasy team last week.
Yeah, Scott Martin did not treat you well.
Neither did Paul Mueller or Jamie Hartman. So I need to make a rebound because Todd Castledine is now beating me by like 2 points.
Yeah.
And of course he's let me know about it.
Yeah.
We can't let that happen.
Yeah.
Because he prides himself in not doing research.
Yeah.
So I need to make a comeback on the final Elite Series stop that takes place on Thursday on the St. Lawrence River.
Yeah.
100 pounds, I think.
All right. Like I said, if you didn't check out the first part of Stephen Browning's interview, check out the replay. And, hey, we surpassed the 10,000 subscriber mark on YouTube. Took us a little over a year to do that. So please continue to subscribe to us. And the iTunes thing.
Could you catch wild pigs and then fatten them up?
I have no idea. Why don't you work on that and give us the info tomorrow?
I honestly have no interest in doing that.
Have you ever thrown a jig and pig? Ever?
Yeah, I mean, like when I was 12.
Did you catch anything? No?
No, the Picasso rattling jig with the black and blue Uncle Josh pork trailer. But then I went with the Jean LaRue salt craw was what the staple was. And then it went when Zoom had the trailer that came out that had like the little, it looked like a half moon on either side. Then I went with those.
I got you.
I mean, that's way back in the day. That is Central Illinois.
Yeah, that's a long time ago. All right, folks. But if you are listening to the podcast, please leave us a review, leave us a rating. It helps us out immensely. You have no idea how much that helps us out. So everybody be safe out there. Back with Lucas tomorrow. That's it, folks. We're out of here.